Welcome back to This is Futbol, your spot for the most uncensored football talk that you are going to find. I'm Daniel Solana, here with my guy Nico Bravo, and I hope you are as glad to be back as I am. It's been a while, but we're back, baby.
We are so back, Danny. I'm so glad. It's been a long time. Longer than we actually thought it would be, but I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy to get going.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, we're going to change things up a little bit in terms of how we used to do it. We used to cover a lot of Inter Miami. Now we're going to shift things and cover a little bit of everything else. But for this first episode, we're going to get back to our roots, and that is Inter Miami. So today will be all about Inter Miami, where they are, where they should be, and why the clock is already ticking louder than anybody wants to admit it. So we're going to hit a little bit of the Leagues Cup, a little bit about Messi's return, why the urgency is to win now with the roster that they have, and what can we expect in 2020 and 2026 with Inter Miami. So let's not waste any time. Let's get started on the Leagues Cup. This tournament, in my opinion, is win or bust for Inter Miami. Now, I understand you have a different opinion.
Yes, I do. And we'll get to it right now. But I don't know, man. I don't know. This team, it looked a little off, and Messi just coming back from injury, I wouldn't be so sure that they can pull it off.
You know, I understand that, and I understand that you're saying Messi's coming back from injury. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but this team doesn't just have Messi, right? They have Suarez, they have De Paul, they have Busquets, they have Jordi Alba. They've added more players, and so yes, they're going up against Tigres, one of the best teams in Mexico, but I think with the roster that they have, they should have enough firepower to get by some of these Mexican teams.
Yes, you're right. But this isn't just any Mexican team. I understand that Miami went through the Leagues Cup facing Atlas, facing Necaxa, and also facing Puebla. Those are, if I'm not mistaken,
Pumas.
Puebla is ranked, Pumas, sorry. Puebla is ranked 16th, Atlas is ranked 12th, and Pumas is ranked 11th. So I know it's early on, their season has just started, but you can see the tendency here. These teams are scrambling to get points in their league, and they weren't to par to face Miami when they came to them. So I don't know, man. I think that Miami is going to have a lot of difficulties facing a team that is comfortable. It's very, very comfortable to play without the ball. Tigres is the type of team that can just break out on counters and they just plummet you.
Absolutely. But with Messi returning on Wednesday, hopefully, I really, really feel like with the entire team back, they should have what it takes to beat Tigres. Now, I know that you mentioned Tigres likes to play without the ball, right? They like to give the ball to their other team, play on the counter. And that doesn't look well for Inter Miami, because that's how Inter Miami got beat the other day against Orlando City.
Right. And it doesn't. Good thing is Tigres, I would say, best player in the last 10 years has been Andre Pierre Gignac. He's just coming back of injury as well. So it's going to take him a while to actually return to form, even though he's already an older guy. So I don't think he's going to ever return to what he was 2-3 years ago. But they did add Angel Correa, and he has been firing in all cylinders, dude. That guy adapted so well, not just to the Mexican League, but also the Leagues Cup. He's been on a tear. I think he has like 3-4 goals on the Leagues Cup in just 3 games. And in the league the other day, they just destroyed Puebla 7-0.
Inter Miami has already faced Tigres one time before, losing to them. But look, you mentioned 2 great players for Tigres. Where you still have to mention Uriel Antuna, a player who has played for the Mexican national team. Also on there, Juan Bruneta, an Argentinian attacking midfielder who is fantastic. Absolutely. I mean, and there's more players that they have that are fantastic players that have represented the national team. So look, for me, I understand your point of view. I understand where you're coming from, saying that Tigres is a tough team and that it's going to match up Inter Miami very well, and it's going to be probably their toughest matchup that they've had so far in the Leagues Cup. But again, with the players that you have, with the roster that you've created, I think Jorge Mas and company has absolutely no excuse, and they need to get that win over Tigres. And hopefully in the next round, Orlando City can get by Toluca and we can get a rematch at home against Orlando.
That one's gonna be tough too. Not only because Toluca is the reigning champions in Mexico, but also because they're not playing in Orlando. So Orlando's not gonna have that fan base behind them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the one thing that Inter Miami, thankfully, because they won the Supporters Shield last year, they will get home field advantage against absolutely everybody except for one team, one Mexican team. And hopefully, if they're able to win the next few matches, they'll host every game for the rest of the League's Cup, and we'll get to have a final in the home stadium at Chase Stadium. He is back. He is back training with the team. He's going to be in the match day squad for Saturday's game against LA Galaxy. But the big question is, should he play or should he rest? I'm of the opinion that I think that he should rest this game, and Inter Miami should wait to bring him back on Wednesday against Tigres in the Big Leagues Cup matchup. But a lot of fans on social media are not taking it that way, and they want to see him play. What do you think, Nico?
I think it all depends on the expectations. Like, what are you focused on more? And it goes back to the topic that we were talking about recently with the Leagues Cup. You say that the Leagues Cup is important, it's an important trophy, but I'm not so sure if the team has that hunger in them to actually win this trophy. I think that the one that they really want is the one that slipped away last year, which is the MLS Cup, with that embarrassment performance against Atlanta. And I feel that they are looking into, okay, we're building something here throughout the season. We want to be ready for when October hits, and we're able to make a push, a nice run in playoffs. If it was me, if he's ready to go, I will say yes. But I would rest him this weekend. I will rest him against Galaxy, and maybe try to see if he can get 30 minutes, 40 minutes against Tigres. I'm not too sure, man, because Messi has been a guy that hasn't had a lot of injuries throughout his career, and that has been a huge advantage for him to become the player that he was. But recently, he's had a lot of injuries, man, and these are muscular injuries. These are fatigue injuries, and those usually come with age.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of folks forget about that. Messi was one of the players, like you mentioned, that barely got injured in his entire career. Since he's arrived at Inter Miami, he's been injured more in these last 2.5 years than he probably was in the rest of his career. And like you mentioned, they're not just any injuries. It's not an ankle sprain that you can go out 4 to 6 weeks and you come back. No, these are injuries that, because of the amount of games that he has played in his career, now they're starting to affect him a little bit more. Obviously, he's a little bit older, and as you and I know, as we continue to play in our old age, it gets harder and harder. Man. It gets harder and harder as the years come by. So you are of the opinion that he should rest on Saturday, get 30 to 40 minutes against Tigres. I'm of the opinion that he should definitely rest on Saturday, no matter what, even though he's going to be in the match day squad. It's against the Galaxy, against the worst team in the MLS. I don't think that they really need him to win this game. And even if they were to drop points against the Galaxy, I don't think it's that important either, because there's still plenty of games left in the MLS season for Inter Miami to make up points. And as we know, 9 teams get into the playoffs, and it's not really important whether you have home field advantage or not. It just matters if you go into the playoffs and you win.
Yeah, it's like you said, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, you want your best player, your franchise guy, to be healthy going into that, And if you rush him, let's say this game or next game against Tigres, he can get back into an injury, And that's not something that Jorge Mas, that's not something that Mascherano will want.
Let's now get into talking about the urgency to win trophies, because we talked a little bit about how, in my opinion, it's very important for Inter Miami to win the Leagues Cup. You talked about how important it is for Inter Miami to win the MLS Cup, especially with how they let the trophy slip out of their hands last year, embarrassing themselves against Atlanta in the MLS Cup playoffs. But with it, like I go back to how they built this roster and how Jorge Mas and David Beckham and the rest of the team have built this roster. And I still think that they need to win every single trophy that's put in front of them. Now, they've already not done that with the CONCACAF Champions Cup, getting beat by not only just an MLS team, but by Vancouver, completely blown out. Then they did okay in the Club World Cup, but let's be honest, we never thought that they were going to win that trophy anyways.
No.
Now is the next trophy, and it's the Leagues Cup. In my opinion, the time is now. They need to win trophies. Messi's been here 2.5 years, and they've only won 2 trophies if you include the Supporters' Shield. They need to win everything, Nico, not just 1 or 2 trophies.
They absolutely do, and like you said, it's because of the the whole expectation, the whole roster complexity, adding pieces around, bringing what Messi wants primarily, because that's the way it's been. But at the same time, if I were to ask you, let's say, would you be okay not winning this trophy if it meant that you're going full throttle on the MLS playoffs? And I'll be okay with that. I honestly think that that's what Mascherano's looking at. Yes, of course, they're really close to possibly winning this title. There is 3 more games though, and they're not easy rivals. Tigres is not going to be an easy rival, and like you said, afterwards it could be Orlando, it can be Toluca. Those are very, very, very tough matchups for Inter Miami. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think that you should still go full on MLS and take this as a glorified, friendly preseason / ICC Cup type of game.
Okay, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. But again, I still have to stick by my guns, and I still have to say that with Messi on the roster, with Suarez on the roster, this possibly being his last year, Busquets also possibly being his last year, these guys have to win everything.
Yeah, but all these guys have won everything. I understand that they haven't
won the MLS Cup
in Miami. Right, but I understand that they haven't won in Miami per se, or they came here to win. They came here to win. But everyone compares this build from Inter Miami to what the Miami Heat did with LeBron, Wade, and Bosch, and it's not the same. It's absolutely not the same, because these guys, you got to remember, these guys are coming here to retire. These guys are not coming here to look for glory. Their glory was already done in Europe. They're way past that. So they're here to enjoy their time, and if they're able to win things along the way, then so be it. But I think they're way, way, way past that. Obviously, they do want to win the MLS Cup. You can see it in their eyes. The way they play the games is completely different when it comes to MLS rather than when it comes to other type of games like the Leagues Cup. So let's see what happens.
Right, let's get into the last topic of the show, the 2026 outlook for Inter Miami. We know that the World Cup is going to be here. 2026 isn't just another season for the MLS. The eyes of the world will be on the United States of America, and Inter Miami has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be the club that everybody is talking about globally. But what is it that Inter Miami has to do going into 2026 in order to do that?
I think beyond roster outlook for the next season, the stadium. We are expecting the stadium to be ready. We do see a lot of progress, but it's something that has to be very, very impactful. We actually do really need Messi to be there as well. And I don't know how that contract extension is going. Speculation say that he's gonna sign, but I wouldn't be so sure. 3-4 months ago, I was 100% sure that he was gonna extend his contract. Right now, with all these injuries, with all the the back and forth, I know that they brought in Futbol. I know that they bring in a lot of Argentinian players, but at the same time, I'm not so sure, man.
I want to ask, I'm glad you mentioned that they bring in a lot of Argentinian players. How do you feel about that? I know, and a lot of folks know you are Argentinian. Are you okay with that? Because me personally, I'm okay with it, but I would love to see them maybe venture out more into South America, maybe bring a couple more Uruguayos, maybe bring some Colombians, an Ecuadorian, a Peruvian, and kind of make it a little bit more diverse. How do you feel about the fact that I would say 70% of this roster is of either Argentinian from Argentina or of Argentinian descent?
Yeah, look, the thing with it is I'm okay with it. And I don't want to base it on nationalities. I guess, we do have a lot of Argentinian players. Do I know why? I'm not so sure. Can it be because, Inter Miami has a lot of ties with specific agents, specific representatives that go and scout players primarily in Argentina? That could be it. But one of the things that I'm not okay with is bringing players that would, you know, um, block the development of academy players that have shined throughout seasons after seasons. Players like David Ruiz, players like uh, Ian Frey, players like Yannick Wright, even though he's not an academy player, but he's still a great player. So I don't want to see Inter Miami constantly adding pieces from overseas when you have players on your academies that are ready to go.
Okay, I
You know,
understand
we
your
we
take.
we 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 spoke about it the other day in the group chat, and there was a moment where we were talking when we were losing to Orlando, and we were like, "Look, man, this kid Freeman, he's so good. He's a national team player." And it was unfortunate to see a kid like that, leave the Inter Miami academies because he didn't have space in it, And now he's shining out. So we don't want to see that type of talent that we have in South Florida go away elsewhere when we can, you know, have it playing for our team.
Absolutely, no, and that's a respectful take. Again, I'm always gonna stick by this. Unfortunately for me, American soccer is not the most attractive brand of soccer out there, and I feel like European players, South American players play a more attractive, a more marketable brand of soccer.
Yeah,
And
but
so, me personally,
but
I
at the
prefer
same
to have
time,
those kinds of players on my team.
right, but at the same time, it's really hard to adapt for them as well. So it's like a give and take. You have an academy player that's ready to go, ready to shine, ready to make the next jump to the first team. Do you take that leap of faith and add him to the roster, or do you bring a guy from overseas, from Argentina, from Uruguay, or from whatever you want that could take some time in adapting? And that has been the case a lot of the times. We've had plenty of players that we can name that haven't worked. They come, they play a few minutes here and there, they play a few games here and there, and we immediately ship them out.
Perfect, Nico. Bueno, that is gonna be a wrap on the first premiere episode of This Is Futbol. We came out swinging, no sugarcoating, no babysitting feelings, just football the way it was meant to be talked about. And Nico, if this was episode 1 of the comeback, imagine what is going to be coming next. I hope you're
Let's
ready.
get cooking. Let's get cooking. Let's get cooking. A lot
Uh,
more topics to talk about. Not just Inter Miami. We're gonna go worldwide on this.
That's right. Just like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is not going to be an Inter Miami based podcast. This is going to be a football and culture based podcast where we talk about all the leagues around the world and how it affects our culture and how it affects the rest of the cultures around the world. So that is a wrap on the first episode. We'll see you on episode 2. Danny and Nico, once again, saying bye to all you guys. See you later.